Okay, guys, hope y'all enjoyed your bathroom break. While y'all were going to the bathroom, I went to Lowe's, bought some flowers for my front yard. It looks very fall like. Cooked dinner and cleaned the kitchen. Great way to use 10 minutes, huh? Okay, guys, so we're going to get back to this. We're about halfway through. I heard those sighs, even not being there, I heard them. But we're going to kind of pick up the pace a little bit um, and just kind of move forward. I think just my biggest thing I want y'all to get out of this time in this video and this lecture is that it's important to know what your biases are, what your prejudices are, what your preconceived notions about others. Recognize when you are doing those things so that you can stop yourself and recognize what you're doing so you can treat others the same. It's a great thing to learn now while you're in high school. You're not going to miss out on friendships with great people because you don't like them because they live in Canton. Who knows? Anyway, so we're going to be picking up on, it looks like slide 17. And so we are talking about understanding cultural diversity and really how someone's culture, even our culture and our ethnic beliefs affect our behavior. Again, culture is learned. We are products of our environment. And that's really the one thing I learned most of being a nurse is that specifically dealing with children. And I'm like, why is that 9-year-old cussing at me? Like, really? He's 9. Who has been letting him watch that trash on TV? What my values are and how I will raise my children are completely different than the way that other people raise their children. And he is a product of his environment. We learn from our environment. And many of you who have prejudices and biases have learned those from your parents. So anyway, so we're talking about culture and ethnic beliefs affect behavior. Again, it says healthcare workers need to be aware of these beliefs to meet physical, social, emotional, and the mental needs of the patient. And just being holistic in your care. It's really important when we look at a patient that we see the whole picture. Again, the same thing for dealing with your peers. Just because someone acts a certain way at school doesn't mean that that's who they are. There may be a reason why they're acting that way. When I look at students, if I look at students who are performing poorly, um, and I just feel that that's not a natural, it doesn't meet their personality. They don't have an attitude that they don't care, even though they're not doing well in my class. I have to dive a little bit deeper because there are things that affect the way that we live and work and function. And so it's important to look at the whole person. Another thing that's really interesting um, that I find that I've noticed just being at Germantown. A lot of my patients did not have nuclear families where it was the mom and the dad and the patient. Um, they had a single mom with a dad not involved, or a stepdad or a stepmom. There really wasn't a typical nuclear family unit. Um, Whereas with y'all, I've noticed that really the first thing that comes to my mind is do the last names match? Do the parents' last names match? Parent and child. And so I've noticed that there are a lot of nuclear families, which is interesting for me. I wasn't expecting that, I guess, because I'd come from such a different background. Um, but that's just something that I learned I thought was interesting. So then you also have extended family. Sometimes extended family lives with families in a single home. I know that the Hispanic culture does a lot of that with the matriarch or patriarch of the family being the great great grandfather or great great grandmother, and then the rest of the family living in the home together. It's very common in certain cultures. Recognition and acceptance of family organization is essential in all aspects of the healthcare field. You need to know who is in charge, who's the decision maker, who has the legal right to make decisions. Just because the mom sitting at the bedside is the mom doesn't mean that she has the right to make decisions about the child's care or the patient's care, or whatever. So it's important to know what you're dealing with and the family organization. Okay, so language can either be a hindrance or it can be something great that you can use with your patients. Um, Research does show that people with a language barrier, that English is not their first language or they don't speak English at all, um, are have health disparities, like we learned about earlier. A group of people based on their social, economic, or geographical regions that have different outcomes than a normal set of patients. English is the dominant U.S. language, but there are many other languages spoken. Just all across the board. Spanish, English, Chinese. Everything is spoken in our world today. You need to make sure that you always determine the language needs of your family. Okay. Something very interesting is it's very easy to use a sibling or a brother or a sister that's at the bedside to translate for you, but it's very important that you utilize your interpretive services to make sure that the patient's getting the right information. Okay. Medical permission form must be usually printed in the patient's native language. That is 100% correct. University, we had a whole database of consent forms and informed consent forms and a language line that we could call and get people that had all kinds of different native tongues so that they can make sure that our patients had the right information to make good decisions. So it's very, 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 very important.